Tuesday edition of The Discourse. Now, this morning we focus on a class of drugs that have transformed the global conversation around obesity and diabetes treatment. That's GLP-1 medications, including semaglutide, the active ingredient in drugs such as Ozempic and Wegovy, are now being studied for effects that may extend far beyond weight loss and blood sugar control. Researchers are increasingly investigating their potential impact on metabolism, hormone regulation, reproductive health, and even brain function. Among the latest findings is research from the University of Colorado Anschutz suggesting that weight loss associated with semaglutide use may be linked to improvements in reproductive health measures amongst adolescents and young women living with polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome, or PMOS. To help us unpack some of these findings and their broader implications, we're now joined by Dr. Melanie Cree, who's a professor of Pediatric Endocrinology at the University of Colorado in the United States. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, Prof, and welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm excited to be chatting with you.
So to start with, what are GLP-1 medications such as semaglutide, and how do they work in the body?
So semaglutide is actually very similar to a protein that we make in our own body, and it binds to a receptor and just makes part of our body work better. And so it helps us bring down our blood sugar. That's what we normally use it for. And then when we put it in higher amounts than our body makes, it also makes us feel more full so that we eat less.
So what led you to study GLP-1 drugs in adolescents is it PMOS? Is that how I say it in the first place?
Yes, and PMOS is a very new name. So people may have previously heard of this as Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, or PCOS. It got the new name Polyendocrine Metabolic Ovarian Syndrome 3 weeks ago. So PMOS. And what we found when we were looking at girls who have this condition and struggle with extra weight is that they were at very high risk for type 2 diabetes, extra fat in the liver, and really we were concerned about their long-term health. And so initially I was looking at these as a weight loss medication, but found that they also help improve the symptoms of PMOS, which is primarily from high testosterone or a little bit too much male hormone. And when we give these medications, the girls get weight loss, but they also see a lowering of that male hormone testosterone. So their symptoms of PMOS, such as not monthly periods or growing extra hair on the face, go away.
My goodness. So I guess sometimes you're looking for one thing, you're doing one thing, and accidentally stumble on something else. Is this what we're seeing?
It's all connected, and we thought that the weight was related to the hormone symptoms of PMOS. But with these degree of weight loss medications that work so well, we are really seeing how closely tied the weight and the hormones can be in this condition.
We're hearing a number of stories, especially with things like Ozempic, that I know of, where some of the stories aren't so great. Has there been any study in your studies, any negative effects that have come up?
Well, like any medication, there are side effects, and every medication choice for every individual needs to be balanced on the risks and benefits to that individual. So, for somebody who does not have any metabolic conditions and is just using this for weight loss, the common side effects, nausea, sometimes vomiting, constipation, dehydration, may not be worth the benefit of some weight loss. And certainly, if you look in the studies that were used at least to get medication approval within the United States, none of this is a surprise. I think that people just forget about how significant the side effects can be when you hear so many success stories. And then if you as an individual are not a success story, it can be very frustrating.
Where do you think this research is going to take you? I mean, are we looking at new drugs, new lines of study, and medication?
Absolutely. I think what we're all starting to realize is one, how significant excess weight is on harming our health. So we're starting to see reports that use of these medications decreases risks of cancer and decreases rates of breast cancer was a report that came out this week. Is it that it decreases breast cancer, or is it because it's taking away the extra risk of breast cancer from excess weight? And I think that's what we need to understand. Is it reversing the negative effects of weight loss or of excess weight, or do these medications have an independent effect where they seem to be treating a lot of conditions and diseases? So we're hearing great things about addiction, eating disorders, breast cancer, as I said, heart disease, and the diabetes, sleep apnea. My research is now finding improvements in reproductive function with women with PMOS. Is it the drug, or is it because all of these conditions are related to weight?
I think you touched on this a little bit earlier on, but I'm curious now about we've talked about the physical aspects. What about the brain function? Tell me a little bit about, are we finding any research talking about the effects on how the brain works as a result of these glutides?
Yes, so this is some work that my colleague Allison Shapiro has done with me. And we've done some preliminary work that's really exciting. And we think that Dr. Shapiro is going to get a large grant from our National Institutes of Health to look at this further. So, what we did in one of my original trials, where we looked at semaglutide versus an intensive diet, is we did functional MRI. So, we took pictures of the brain, and what we could see is where the blood in the brain goes to tell us what parts of the brain are working at the same time. And what we found was that the energy calorie center of the brain, our hypothalamus, was talking much better. The connections were much better to the limbic system, or the emotional part of our brain, after semaglutide. But there was no difference in the girls who received weight therapy. And what we'd like to do is more research in this direction, but this pathway could explain when people say the food noise has gone away, that when they take these drugs, they're not thinking about food all the time, they're not hungry all the time. This increased connection could potentially explain that change that people describe.
Okay, so your work mostly in young female adolescents. What about big guys like me? Is there any evidence that could help me?
So, exactly, there has been some initial brain work with the other medication. It's a GLP-1 GIP, tirzepatide. And there have been some functional brain MRI studies with tirzepatide in both men and women that again looked promising, that the brain is indeed activated in different ways with these medications. So men also describe this lack of food noise and that it goes away. And the studies with tirzepatide would indicate something similar to what we've shown.
Dr. Melanie, we're going to have to leave it there, but I am hoping that there is
Yes.
hope for me because I put on weight just looking at sweets, and that's it. So if we can
I'm
shift
sure
that.
there is.
Thanks so much indeed for your time and staying up to talk to us. Thank you. Really greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That was Dr. Melanie Cree, who's a professor of pediatric endocrinology at the University of Colorado Anschutz in the US, speaking to us about glutides, GLP-1 medications. Yeah, there's this craze for Ozempic at the minute, and there seems to be some evidence supporting weight loss, even though it really was about diabetes and management of diabetes. We're going to carry on looking at this and the psychological